Brother.
Today, I am going to be breaking down how I think Max Holloway will do against other top lightweight opponents, and I'm going to be trying to matchmake lightweight. But we'll start with Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria. I honestly think he loses. I'm sorry. I know he looked so good against Dustin. He mogged Gaethje. But it's just, I think Ilia Topuria, let's just break it down like this. Dustin Poirier, a lot of people say Dustin Poirier is similar to Ilia, relatively. But if you want to say that, right? I think Ilia's leaps and bounds ahead of Dustin. Leaps and bounds. Prime Dustin Poirier is not that far off from Ilia. I'll say that. But Ilia Topuria is currently in his prime. He's currently in the best form we've ever seen him, right? And he's only going to get better. He's 28, 29. And if he faces Max Holloway, a Max Holloway who's going to be older, a Max Holloway who's going to have more damage on his body. He just had another war with Dustin Poirier. Like, I know it wasn't like a war, but like his face was all damaged. He took a lot of big shots. He got dropped. You know, it's not, this isn't a fresh Max Holloway waltzing in. This is a Max Holloway that we've seen go through a lot of things, you know, let's just say that. So against Ilia Topuria, a guy who's coming out of his fights relatively okay, you know, he might have a couple of cuts and stuff and a couple of bruises, but he's all right for the most part. I really do think he beats Max Holloway in a rematch. Now, Max Holloway, he could do good. He could do better. He probably, to be honest with you, I mean, maybe he could eat more shots from Ilia, but I do think Ilia Topuria is too damn good. And he has the wrestling to mix it up as well. And we saw that in the first fight. But at lightweight, both guys are going to be stronger. But Ilia is going to be stronger. Max is going to be stronger as well. So that is a factor. But I just think, man, at lightweight, Max is one of those guys, he stands very tall. He is hard to take down. You know, he has good takedown defense and he has good get-ups. But he can be taken down. We've seen him be taken down. It's not an impossible task. He doesn't have insane takedown defense, right? So I think Ilia Topuria, there's a path to victory there once again. Again, if he mixes up the wrestling and if he just does the same game plan, but if Max Holloway threw more knee stomps, yeah, you mean the same knee stomps that were countered by Ilia throughout the whole fight? Like early on in the fight, when Max Holloway was throwing the knee stomps and the low kicks, it was going good for him. But as the fight progressed, Ilia started timing it. And I think Poirier, to be honest, he didn't use it as much against Poirier, but I think Poirier doesn't have the speed of an Ilia to time it. You know, even like a Gaethje, those guys don't have the speed or the timing of Ilia Topuria or the power of Ilia Topuria. So I just think it could be different. It could be maybe an Ilia Topuria decision. It could maybe be a late rounds 5 TKO or something. But I do think Ilia Topuria probably 9 times out of 10 beats Max Holloway. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Simply put, Charles Oliveira is fucked. He is. Like, his jiu-jitsu is very good, but it's not good enough to, he's just going to dominate Max Holloway on the ground. Again, Max Holloway is very strong. I think, honestly, similar. I think him and Charles are similarly, like, sort of built and similarly strong. I honestly think they can kind of match each other strength-wise, so I don't think he would just walk down Max Holloway. And if he tries that, he's going to get cracked really hard, the same way that Ilia cracked him, and Poirier, and everyone else he's ever faced. I'm sorry, but Charles Oliveira, unless he's facing like Mateusz Gamrot or maybe a Fiziev who doesn't have insane power, he's cooked against these top guys. So I do think Max Holloway, sadly, would probably TKO him in the early rounds. I really do, man. He's faster as well. This 32-year-old lightweight version of Max who just moved up is going to be faster than Charles Oliveira at this stage. He just is. Less damage on his body, less miles. Well, maybe. I know Max Holloway has absorbed a lot of significant strikes throughout his career, but he doesn't look like he has. He still fights like Max Holloway. He's still insanely fast. Charles is as well. Like, Charles didn't look completely washed against Ilia or against Arman or against Chandler. He still is in a good form, but he just got slept. And that does something to your style, your confidence, especially if your style is the Charles Oliveira trudge forward style. That's not good. Getting slept is not good when your whole style is, I have a good chin. I've never been slept before, and I like to move forward. So even if he tries to be rangy, he's not going to win that game against Max Holloway. Max versus Paddy. I honestly do think Max Holloway would win this one again. I just think Paddy Pimblett is very good on the ground, don't get me wrong, and he is probably stronger than Charles, but he might be stronger than Max, to be fair. He probably is, but I just think Paddy Pimblett, his striking is so... It's improving, but Max Holloway might just be too fast, man. When Tony Ferguson is landing, Chandler didn't land a lot, but he landed a couple of shots. But Chandler and Holloway, I think Holloway, man, is kind of like a nightmare matchup for Paddy Pimblett. Holloway has great wrestling in terms of defensive wrestling. He has great defensive wrestling. He's rangy. He can use low kicks just as Paddy can. So Paddy's going to be pretty equally matched in terms of the low kick game, the knee stomp game, the range game. And if you're going to play the range game against Max Holloway, again, you're not winning that game. He's too fast. He's going to work the body. And I think Paddy Pimblett, he might go for a lot of takedowns. He might go for some... He might have a close, maybe a guillotine, but I've seen him not sub Tony Ferguson. I've seen him have Chandler in there for a couple of rounds and Chandler be able to survive. Max Holloway is about 1,000 times better than current day Michael Chandler. So I do think he could beat Paddy, but I think Paddy Pimblett, if he tries to use a wrestling heavy approach, that'd be good. Obviously, duh, he'd have the advantage. But that's if he can get close to Max Holloway, because Max Holloway can stick and move very well, and he's going to be stinging Paddy Pimblett. The guy who leaves his chin up in the air, yeah, that Paddy Pimblett, he's going to be stinging him very bad with those right hands down the middle. Finally, Max versus Arman, kind of similar to Max versus Paddy, but I do think it'd be clearer for Max Holloway. I honestly do. I think Paddy Pimblett is a worse matchup for Max Holloway, because at least Paddy Pimblett has jiu-jitsu, whereas Arman Tsarukyan, who's he submitted? He's got some TKOs, he's got some KOs, he has power. He does have KO power, but come on, bro. He's not Ilia. He's not one of these guys he's not even that accurate either. He's a pretty straightforward boxer, just a pretty straightforward rudimentary boxer. I'm sorry. I think if he can get some takedowns on Max Holloway, fine, he can make it close, but I don't think Arman Tsarukyan is this. I think Max Holloway would beat Arman as well. He's too elusive. He has great get-ups, great scrambles. Again, very good defensive wrestler. And I've not been super impressed with Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling. I mean, against Charles Oliveira, that is. Against Beneil, we didn't really see it. Gamrot, he got mogged by Gamrot, right? He got completely mogged by Mateusz Gamrot. And then prior to that, it's like, okay, he beat a couple of cans. Joe Alvarez is a good win, to be fair, but it's like, come on, bro. We're talking about Max Holloway, and I think Max Holloway, I do think this one could be competitive for sure. It could be close, but I think as the fight goes on, Max Holloway with his insane 5-round cardio, it's going to favor him for sure. And Arman is hittable. He is hittable. He is dare to be hit. And against a guy like Max who has the range, has those knee stomps, I mean, maybe it would be dangerous. Okay, if I throw a knee stomp, he might catch me for a single leg or something, but okay, he gets a takedown on Max, then what? Now, if it's a 3-rounder, I do think then I would kind of worry that Arman would win like a really close 3-round decision, because Max doesn't have the jiu-jitsu of a Charles to kind of make it close on the ground. But again, Max is very, very, very good at getting up and very good at just being defensively sound. I think he would probably win this one. Now, finally, let's try to match up these damn lightweights. So, I say we do Max Holloway versus Arman Tsarukyan. Arman Tsarukyan wants to come back. I don't know where he's been, but I do think Max Holloway versus Arman Tsarukyan sometime at the end of this year would be kind of perfect. I love the fight. I think stylistically, I just spoke about it. I think it would be a good fight. It would be very close, very competitive, and I do think it's one of those where you're going to have people say, Arman's got this one easy. Arman by whatever he wants, and then you're going to have people say Max by whatever he wants. It's going to be one of those where there's going to be a lot of, it's not going to be a clear cut, oh, Arman's definitely got this or Max has definitely got this. It's going to be one that's going to be debated. So I love this fight. I think it's kind of a perfect fight. And I think the winner of this fight should 100% be the first number one contender. So in my opinion, the next fight we're going to say here is Paddy versus Gaethje. In my opinion, these guys are not really... Look, if Paddy beats Justin Gaethje, he could get a title shot. But I do think Max Holloway at this point, especially if he were to beat an Arman Tsarukyan, would be way more deserving. Beating Gaethje, beating Poirier, and now would have beaten Arman Tsarukyan. Whereas Paddy, okay, he beat Gaethje and then Chandler and then Bobby Green, and then Tony Ferguson, and then Jared Gordon. Like, come on, guys. So I do think, I mean, you could even do a Max versus a Paddy, but I do think then what do you do? Gaethje Arman. Stylistically, I do like. They're not going to do Arman versus Paddy. We know this, and they're not going to do Max versus Gaethje. So that's kind of why I had to do it this way. Because if you did Arman versus Paddy, what are you going to do with Max? What are you going to do with Justin? So that's why I kind of did it this way. But I do think Paddy and Gaethje is a good fight. It's a big fight. You know the people are going to want to see it. It's not really a fight that really hypes me up, but it's a good fight, and I know the UFC are going to be dying to make it because they want to see Paddy Pimblett beat Justin Gaethje, the same guy who's talking about retirement. He's being all entitled and stuff, so 1,000% this is probably what they're going to make anyways. And Charles Oliveira, let's talk about him, right? Just retire, kid. No, I think Charles Oliveira should probably fight, I'd say like a Fiziev, Gamrot. There's names. In my opinion, these are names he should fight. You know, Fiziev, Gamrot, maybe in October in that Brazil card, maybe in the main event of UFC Fight Night Brazil, or in November in MSG. I just don't really. It's like, okay, Max beats Charles. It's like, that's kind of a step back. As crazy as that sounds to say, sorry, Charles Oliveira and Charles Oliveira fans, but that is a bit of a step back at this point. He just beat Dustin Poirier, and before that, he just KO'd Max Holloway. Now we should be looking at Arman or Paddy, or a title shot, really, but I wouldn't give him one. To make him face now a guy who's on a losing streak, who just got flatlined, that being Charles Oliveira, doesn't do a lot for him. It doesn't put him right there in those title conversations the way it would if he beat Paddy or Arman, but obviously I matched him up with Arman. That's the fight I prefer. So again, Charles Oliveira should face Fiziev, Gamrot, names like that, just kind of. And I think he could win those fights, so I think it's kind of perfect. Let's get some new blood as well at the top of lightweight. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. I didn't really decide to match up all of the guys post UFC 318, like, Brendan Allen and those names. I didn't really want to do it because it's like, Paulo Costa should face who? Jared Cannonier. You know what I mean? It's like the names aren't big enough in my opinion, but it is what it is. See you guys next time. Like and sub, become a member in the description, and peace.